G'day and welcome back to the channel, Ginger Ninja's Movie Reviews. I am the Ginger Ninja and these are my Trashy Tuesday movie reviews. Now, don't let the title scare you. Trashy does not mean bad. Well, not all the time. And in this case, it is anything but bad. This week we are looking at the 1980 film Alligator, directed by Lewis Teague and starring Robert Foster, Robin Riker, Michael V. Garzo, Henry Silva, and many more. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of the film, I do want to say a big thank you to all my new and existing subscribers. I know, I say it every week, but I truly mean it. Thank you for your continued support. Now, let's get into this because I'm really excited about this one. I watched this again on Shudder and it's just so much fun. And I know I'm gushing about it already, so you can probably tell that I do enjoy this film. But for those that haven't seen it, the plot. A pet baby alligator is flushed down a toilet and survives in the city's sewers. 12 years later, it grows to an enormous size thanks to a diet of discarded laboratory dogs injected with growth hormones. Now, humans have entered the menu. I mean, that premise is just deliciously absurd. And the story is classic B-movie. It's a classic B-movie fodder and setup. It's a quintessential example of the creature feature subgenre, and it blends urban legend, campy thrills with sly social and environmental commentary. And it delivers a surprisingly sharp mix of horror, humor, and satire, making it stand out amongst the wave of Jaws-inspired monster movies of the late 70s and the early 80s. So, let's dive into the sewers and have a look at Alligator. All right, kicking it off with the cast, and we are led by the late Robert Foster, who delivers a grounded and likable performance as a cynical yet competent Detective Madison. He has a dry wit and a self-deprecating humor, which I really appreciate and enjoyed, and it gives the actual character a bit of depth. And his easy charisma, it keeps you, rooting for him as a character. You want to see him succeed. There's a running gag about his receding hairline, and it's both amusing and it seeks to humanize this character, make him more relatable, especially as an everyday hero. And it does definitely make him feel relatable in a film that's, full of outlandish chaos. Robin Riker holds her own as Marissa, the scientist with a personal connection to the alligator. It was her childhood pet. So, we don't actually know for sure, but we assume because of the start and the way it progresses. And look, her role does lean into some 1980s stereotypes. She does manage to bring charm and intelligence to her character. The supporting performances are wonderfully over the top, particularly Michael V. Garzo's. He's the police chief. He's just this gruff character, quite amusing. And Henry Silva as the pompous big game hunter. Silva's exaggerated bravado is a highlight, particularly when his hubris meets its inevitable toothy end. Some of the characters, in particularly the villains, like the corrupt corporate villains of the piece, they do feel rather one-dimensional, and it is in line with the campy tone of the film, but their lack of depth may frustrate some viewers looking for slightly more nuance. So now on to the directing and the writing, and Lewis Teague strikes a delicate balance between suspense and satire. He crafts genuinely tense sequences, especially in the shadowy sewers. But he never takes the material too seriously. The film's sense of humor, whether it's in Detective Madison's deadpan quips or the absurdity of the situation, keeps it from feeling dour and depressing. The pacing is rather brisk and with enough character moments to make you care without bogging down the action. The combination of a smart script and Teague's sharp direction ensures the film is as entertaining in its quieter moments as it is during its gory set pieces. However, beneath the B-movie trappings, Alligator, does have some sharp teeth when it comes to satirizing corporate greed and scientific irresponsibility. The subplot about unethical experimentation and the disposing of the laboratory animals, it adds an unexpected layer of relevance, giving the film more substance than a standard creature feature that's known in the genre. Now, on the other hand, there were some editing issues, particularly in the first act, where I felt things were cut out. And that may have helped shorten the runtime. However, I felt that it was missing something in those sequences. There's all of a sudden these body parts are turning up. It felt rather sudden and were just thrown into it. For me, that doesn't quite sit well. I wanted a bit more of a build up as well. But I understand why they may have taken out to shorten the runtime, because back in the 80s, 2-hour films weren't a thing. It was like 90 minutes, So that's probably why. But I'd love to know if there's additional features or extras. Like I said, I watch this on Shudder. I don't actually own this on physical media. I'd love to get it one day. But yeah, it's just, for me, I felt that first act, there was just some slight editing mishaps. So now on to the effects. And the star of the show is, of course, the alligator. The practical effects are I would say, a mixed bag. The full-size animatronic alligator is impressively detailed, especially for its time, and it looks fantastic. And it leads to a sense of physicality to its attacks. Now, the use of a real alligator in the miniature sets for certain scenes, it looks good, but it's also very cheesy nowadays. That being said, it does add to the film's charm, so that's what I mean. It's a mixed bag. The creature's rampages are satisfyingly destructive, and there are certain standout moments like the wedding scene, which I'll touch on in a moment, because it's a gleeful blend of horror and dark comedy that really epitomizes the film's tone. Now, I mentioned the wedding scene, and I still remember this scene from when I was, young lad. This sequence in the film stands out to me, and I don't know what it was, but the alligator chomping down on the guests in a destructive rampage, limbs being ripped off in gruesome 80s style, the lead corporate villain being crushed to death in his limo. I don't know what it was about this particular scene. It could have been the red blood on the white wedding decor, but for me, this scene stood out amongst all the others, and it's one that I still remember, like from back in the day. Yeah, it's done really well. This is also one of the few films that I can recall, and particularly this subgenre, the animal attack films, that shows a kid getting killed. Usually they're saved in the nick of time, but not here. It's Gator Central. Rewatchability. Now, Alligator is without a doubt a cult classic, and for many, many reasons. I first saw this years ago on TV, and it's always stuck with me. It's a creature feature that resonates with its wit and thrills, and it's an easy to watch movie. It's got a feel to it where you don't need to think too much. You just enjoy the alligator chomping on people. So yeah, I'll definitely rewatch this again. Final verdict. Alligator has aged extremely well as a cult classic. It's a smart, funny, and thrilling B movie that knows exactly what it is and delivers accordingly. It's self-aware without being overly meta, delivering thrills and laughs in equal measure. Now, while some of the effects and tropes have aged, they only add to the film's charm and the cheesiness, which is a lot of fun. It's easy to see why Alligator remains a beloved entry into the genre. If you're a fan of creature features with a bit of brain behind the bite, then Alligator is a must-watch. It's a perfect mix of campiness and cheesiness, and it's a toothy gem from the golden age of practical effects. Overall, for a score, Alligator gets a 7 out of 10. And there you have it. That is my review of Alligator from 1980. Have you seen this film? I mean, if you haven't, you're definitely missing out. It is a really enjoyable movie. I definitely recommend, if you haven't seen it, you do check it out. Like I said, I saw it on Shudder. I'm pretty sure it was available on Tubi at one stage as well. So it's around online to stream, but I know you can also pick it up on physical. I will be looking to get it on physical media myself one day, hopefully, because this is just an absolute classic. So yeah, Anyway, look, before I dribble on too much, thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please do hit that thumbs up button. It'd be much appreciated. And of course, if you've listened to me dribble on this far into it, you may as well subscribe and hit that notification bell so that way you're notified every time I do release a new review. Now, we do have my Trashy Tuesdays. Obviously, they're a lot of fun. There's some really good ones coming up too. And we've got Franchise Fridays. We're in Tremors territory. And yeah. Anyway, check it out to see what I think of those films. I've also got a few specials coming up, so keep an eye out for them. And other than that, I've also got my 60-second reviews. So there you have it. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.